And you can use a lot of the sequences that we've already played and get a different sound using those different shapes. But it's basically just the same technique, and you have to have your left hand learn something slightly different, but it shouldn't be too hard to translate. The next scale, yet another octave idea. This one's very similar to, almost identical to a natural minor scale, except there's no sixth. It sounds like this. Basically, one thing to notice is that you've got a pretty wide stretch in the A string. And this would be A, B, C. Not too bad, but then you got D, E, and G. No F. The F's the sixth. In A, it's gone. And we'll do the same idea where we take it up in octaves. So try that shape. Starting in the A note of the D string. And the A note of the B string. I really like the sound of this one a lot. For my next guitar trick, I'd like to perform an extremely difficult feat of magic involving handcuffs, a straitjacket, a beautiful assistant, and a canvas mailbag that would make Houdini think twice. Let's get right to it. Stick the old handcuffers on there. Number two, you can see he's not coming off. The straitjacket. Right about now, the guitar is shivering in terror. Why is it shivering in terror? Because it knows what's to come. Stick these around here. Tighten them up. And as you can see, there'll be no getting out of this one today. Finally, last but not least, the dreaded mailbag of doom. Stick her on in there. Of course, accompanying the mailbag of doom are the padlocks of doom. Number one, and number two. And here we go. Voila! Pretty darn amazing if I do say so myself. Thank you very much. Here's a harmonic minor shape that's harmonized 2 notes per string. Works real well with a lot of these patterns. Let me start from the highest part, because a lot of the licks I do in this are descending oriented. So just with 2 whole steps, and then you have a half step and a whole step kind of a shape, and that gives it that real characteristic harmonic minor sound. You put your 6 notes up and down pattern into it, and it sounds real good. Right there, you got a fairly big left hand shift, which happens a lot of times in 3 note per string scales, but once you get used to it, the picking, it's worth the picking ease. With a fairly simple shape, but it's kind of far in position from the top 2 strings. So you might want to work on that shift. You got to move your first finger a whole step up or a whole step down, depending on whether you're ascending or descending. On the lower strings, you get a fairly big stretch, a half step and a minor third, and then just a half step and a whole step at the end. One of my favorites right now. This is sort of an unorthodox way of playing this scale, but has a lot of unique possibilities. Most of the time when guitar players play the chromatic scale, we'll do it 4 notes per string, which is a great way of playing. It's very efficient. You just have 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, going up each time. Basically, when I play chromatic, I use that scale most of the time. But for a strange effect, you can take the chromatic and harmonize it 3 notes per string. Not nearly as efficient, but you can take the 3 note per string phrasing licks, apply it to the scale, and get a lot of neat sounds. The scale would be like this, starting on E. So you have pretty big position shifts every time. But let's say, let's go back to the pattern that went up and down 4 and up 6 and translate it into the chromatic pattern that we just did. So if you translate this pattern into the chromatic shape, it would sound like this. You're going a pretty big left-hand skip, but if you get comfortable with that kind of sequence, it really isn't that bad. It's kind of funny to slow tempo, but at a fast tempo it sounds really funny. You try that again. This is loads of fun. You're going to annoy your parents forever with that one. You know, there really is a lot you can do with just that little old pick, but you know, in a way it's kind of limiting when you know that there's a possibility of using not 1, but 3 picks on the end of a drill. There's really nothing like it. Beautiful, beautiful music. Almost as cool as a polka. All right, let's say good morning to our left hand. We're going to do some hammer-ons and pull-offs. The first one is one that really got my left hand going a lot. It's a 5-note sequence, and basically got 1 note on the high E string, A note, 5th fret, and on the B string we've got 3 notes, G, F, and D. On the D string, with your 3rd finger, play the D note, 7th fret, and then just go back up. So it's 5 notes up and down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back to your original. One of the good things about this lick is it uses all your fingers. So besides being a cool sounding lick, it's a real good exercise. When you play it up to tempo, you can hear how it sounds. Now, although there are a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs in this, I still am picking. Basically, my rule for hammer-ons and pull-offs is I pick every time I change to a different string. Occasionally I may pick a little more than that to get a little more aggressiveness out of it, but as a bare minimum, I always pick when I go to the next string. So for this, basically I pick the first 2 notes because I changed strings, then do 2 pull-offs, then pick the next 2 strings, and then hammer on the next 2 notes. So the whole thing is like pick, pick, pull off, pick, pick, hammer, hammer. It's kind of a good sequence to remember. And again, it'll sound like this. There's a lot of variations in that you'll see soon. A thing that you can add to that that'll give it a real good sound